Baseball has seen legends rise and fall, but few lived with the fire and fury of Billy Martin. He wasn't just another manager in the dugout. He was a force of nature, a man who could take a broken ball club and almost overnight transform them into contenders. From Minnesota to Detroit, from Texas to Oakland, and most famously, in the Bronx with the Yankees, Billy Martin worked miracles. He had the rare gift of making players believe when no one else did. And yet, behind every triumph lay the seeds of destruction. For every championship, there was conflict. For every standing ovation, there was another fight, another scandal, another night drowned in alcohol. Billy Martin seemed addicted not just to winning, but to chaos itself. His brilliance shone brightest under pressure, but so did his demons. On Christmas Day 1989, those demons finally caught up with him in a tragic crash that shocked the baseball world. But the story of Billy Martin is far more than a tragic ending. It is a tale of genius and self-destruction, loyalty and betrayal, triumph and downfall. So the question remains, how could a man so brilliant at saving teams fail to save himself? Early life. A fighter from the start. Alfred Manuel. Billy Martin was born in Berkeley, California in 1928 into a world already marked by struggle. His father abandoned the family before Billy ever took his first steps, leaving his mother to raise him in an environment where money was scarce, but resilience was abundant. From an early age, Billy was known as a scrapper. He fought with neighborhood kids, challenged authority at school, and seemed determined never to back down from anyone. Baseball was his outlet, his place of escape, where the fight inside him transformed into something productive. The dusty fields of California became his proving ground, where he learned not just the fundamentals of the game, but the tenacity that would define him. What made Billy different wasn't raw physical power. He wasn't the biggest, fastest, or strongest. What he possessed was grit. He studied the game like a chess player, memorizing the tendencies of pitchers, understanding where balls would be hit, and constantly looking for advantages others overlooked. Coaches saw in him a boy with an almost unnatural instinct for strategy, someone who compensated for a lack of physical gifts with sheer intensity and intelligence. His reputation as a fighter in both literal and figurative senses was cemented during these years, setting the stage for a career where conflict and brilliance would always walk hand in hand. As he grew older, this spirit carried him through the minor leagues, where long bus rides, cheap motels, and endless grind tested every player's resolve. For Billy, it was simply another arena to prove he belonged. He knew he would never be the best pure athlete on the field, but he would outthink and out-hustle anyone standing in his way. It was this fire that eventually drew the attention of the New York Yankees, the team that would shape both his triumphs and his tragedies. Playing career, the spark on the field. When Billy Martin first put on the Yankees pinstripes in the early 1950s, he wasn't expected to become a star. He wasn't built like Mickey Mantle, nor did he swing with the power of Joe DiMaggio. But what he lacked in natural talent, he more than made up for in heart. Billy became the spark plug, the gritty infielder whose hustle and energy seemed to electrify the team. Fans recognized his fire immediately, and teammates admired the way he threw himself into every play, often literally. The defining moment of his playing career came in the 1953 World Series. With the Yankees and Dodgers battling in a tense Game 6, Billy made a defensive play that remains legendary, charging a bloop single and gunning down a runner at the plate. It was a reminder that instincts and determination could turn the tide of history. In that series, he also racked up 12 hits, including a walk-off single that sealed the championship. Though he would never be remembered as one of the greatest hitters or fielders of his era, Billy carved his name into Yankee lore with those unforgettable moments. Yet even during his playing days, the storm clouds of conflict followed him. He was part of the infamous Copacabana nightclub fight in 1957 that embarrassed the Yankees organization and led directly to his trade to Kansas City. For Billy, it felt like exile from the team he loved most, a wound he never forgot. The pattern was already emerging, brilliance on the field paired with trouble off it, victories overshadowed by fights and controversy. He carried both reputations with him throughout stints with several other teams, leaving behind flashes of greatness and scars of turbulence. Still, those who played alongside him remembered the fire. Billy Martin wasn't a superstar, but he was a catalyst. His intensity made teammates play harder, his instincts saved games, and his hunger for victory made him invaluable. It was clear to many even then that Billy's real destiny lay not in his bat or glove, but in his mind. The seeds of a future manager, one who could outthink, outmaneuver, and out-inspire anyone, were already planted. The birth of a manager, turning losers into winners. After retiring as a player, Billy Martin didn't take long to step into the manager's role, and almost immediately he proved he was different. He inherited teams that looked hopeless, clubs languishing at the bottom of the standings, and within a season, or sometimes less, he transformed them into contenders. The Minnesota Twins in 1969 were his first great experiment. They had stumbled badly the year before, but under Billy's fiery leadership, they surged forward, winning the American League West. He demanded accountability from his players, pushed them harder than they thought possible, and most importantly, made them believe they could win. The pattern repeated itself across the league. In Detroit, he revitalized the Tigers, leading them to a division title. In Texas, he pulled the Rangers out of the basement and delivered a miraculous 27-game improvement. With Oakland, he resurrected a franchise in freefall, pushing them to new heights and winning back-to-back Manager of the Year awards. Everywhere he went, the story was the same. Billy took broken rosters and remade them into fighters. What set him apart was not just strategy, though he was a brilliant tactician who embraced hit-and-run plays, aggressive base running, and clever pitching maneuvers. It was his ability to instill fire into players who had lost hope. Veterans said he reignited their passion. Young players said he pushed them to reach levels they never imagined. He thrived in chaos, and often he thrived by creating it. Yet even these triumphs carried cracks beneath the surface. His confrontational style, while effective in the short term, burned bridges quickly. Authority figures clashed with him, and his tendency to challenge owners and executives often spelled doom, no matter how much success he delivered on the field. Billy Martin was the ultimate turnaround artist, but just as consistently, he was his own undoing. Yankees and Steinbrenner. A legendary love-hate affair. No chapter in Billy Martin's story looms larger than his relationship with George Steinbrenner and the New York Yankees. It was a bond forged in both triumph and disaster, an endless cycle of love and betrayal that fascinated the entire sports world. Billy managed the Yankees 5 separate times, an unheard-of statistic that reveals both his brilliance and his volatility. Their partnership produced glory. In 1976, Billy led the Yankees to the World Series. In 1977, he delivered the championship, cementing his status as one of the most impactful managers in Yankee history. The clubhouse was fiery, filled with personalities like Reggie Jackson, whose clashes with Billy became legendary. The infamous moment in 1978, when Billy publicly declared, "One's a born liar and the other's convicted," referring to Jackson and Steinbrenner, encapsulated the combustible mix of ego, pride, and anger that defined the era. The public devoured the drama. Commercials parodied it. Television shows joked about it. The Yankees weren't just a team, they were a soap opera, and Billy Martin was at the center. To fans, he embodied the Bronx Zoo spirit, chaotic, messy, but undeniably captivating. Steinbrenner, known as the boss, fired him repeatedly, but could never resist bringing him back. He knew Billy had magic, the ability to ignite the team like no one else could. And Billy, despite his bitterness, always returned, drawn back to the only place where he truly felt alive. It was a relationship of two men addicted to each other's intensity. Together they won, together they fought, and together they created one of the most unforgettable sagas in baseball history. But like so much in Billy's life, the very passion that made it great was also what ensured its destruction. The dark side: drinking, fighting, and self-destruction. Behind the victories and celebrations, Billy Martin carried demons he never conquered. Alcohol was a constant companion, often fueling his worst decisions. He was known to drink heavily, sometimes before games, often after them, and nearly always when tensions ran high. What might have been private struggles for others became public disasters for Billy, as bar fights, altercations, and embarrassing spectacles followed him from city to city. The stories became infamous. He once punched his own pitcher during a fight. He brawled with a marshmallow salesman in Minneapolis. He broke his arm fighting one of his own players in a hotel bar. Each incident chipped away at his reputation, painting him not just as fiery but uncontrollable. He seemed drawn to conflict, unable to exist without it, as though peace itself made him restless. Alcohol magnified these tendencies, turning sparks into infernos. Friends and colleagues tried to intervene, but Billy rarely admitted he had a problem. He would dismiss concerns with lines like, "All I had was 2 glasses of red wine," even when everyone knew the truth. In the end, his addiction and volatility created a cycle he could never escape. Success, explosion, dismissal, redemption, and collapse. It was the dark undercurrent of his life, always threatening to consume the brilliance he displayed on the field. The final crash. Christmas Day, 1989. The end came on a snowy road in upstate New York. On Christmas Day, 1989, Billy Martin's truck skidded off an icy road and slammed into a culvert. He was thrown through the windshield, suffering fatal injuries. The details of the crash remain shrouded in controversy. His friend initially admitted to driving under the influence, but later claimed he lied to protect Billy from facing another drunk driving charge. No autopsy was performed, fueling speculation that questions were left deliberately unanswered. For fans, the shock was immense. Billy Martin was larger than life, the kind of figure who seemed unbreakable, yet he was gone in an instant. Teammates, rivals, and even Steinbrenner himself expressed grief. Steinbrenner admitted to feeling guilt, confessing that he wished he had done more to help Billy conquer his demons. The uncertainty surrounding his final moments mirrored the chaos that had defined his life. Even in death, Billy Martin remained a puzzle of brilliance and tragedy. The legacy: genius without peace. Today, Billy Martin's name evokes both admiration and sadness. He is remembered as one of the greatest tacticians in baseball history, a man who could take any roster and squeeze greatness from it. His teams played with urgency, intensity, and a belief that anything was possible under his leadership. His ability to motivate and inspire remains a model for managers even decades later. Yet his legacy is also inseparable from his flaws. To many, he symbolizes the cautionary tale of talent undone by self-destruction. He represents the duality of genius. That brilliance can shine brightly, but without discipline, it can burn itself out. Fans still debate him. Was Billy Martin a victim of his own demons, or a man who simply could not survive without the conflict that fueled him? What endures is fascination. Documentaries, books, and endless conversations keep his story alive. He is the embodiment of baseball's most human truth, that greatness and weakness can exist side by side, inseparable and intertwined. Billy Martin will always be remembered not just for the games he won, but for the chaotic, unforgettable life he lived. Billy Martin's story is not simply about baseball. It is about the cost of brilliance when left unchecked. He could turn hopeless teams into contenders, inspire men who had stopped believing, and electrify stadiums with his fiery presence. Yet he could not conquer himself. The same passion that lifted him to glory also dragged him into chaos, leaving behind a legacy equal parts triumph and tragedy. In many ways, Billy Martin reflects the struggles we all face. Each of us carries strengths that can change the world around us, but also weaknesses that, if ignored, can undo everything we build. His life reminds us that victory on the field, or in any arena, is hollow if we lose the battle within. Even today, decades after his passing, Billy's name still stirs debate, admiration, and sorrow. Fans remember the genius, the fight, the championship he delivered. They also remember the brawls, the drinking, and the collapse. That is why his story endures, because it is painfully human. In the end, Billy Martin was proof that genius alone cannot guarantee peace. True greatness requires balance, humility, and the courage to confront our own demons. That is the lesson Billy leaves us all,